Now guys, tell me in the comment section, should I get a ladder for the rear of the vehicle? And hello pups, how we doing today? What's going on YouTube? I'm Rob Santinello and welcome back to the channel. So today is going to be another install video. What we are doing is we are putting on a Victory 4x4 roof rack. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you everything that got delivered, and then we're going to go through the install process. We're going to get it up on the roof, and then we'll talk about the fit and finish and what I think about it. So first and foremost, I went with the Victory 4x4 roof rack. This is a full roof rack. It is a low profile roof rack, so it's only going to come about 2 inches off of the actual roof. The roof rack also has an option to go with a full or a half fairing. The half fairing is to allow a 40-inch LED light bar. I decided to go with that cutout because I do want to put a light bar on top of the roof. So it's going to be integrated into the front fairing. I also decided to go with black hardware all around. You will get some normal hardware, but you can opt to have the exposed bolts be black. So I decided to go with that option. So you might be asking yourself, why did I go with the Victory 4x4 roof rack when there are a lot of options on the market for these GX 470s? And I'll tell you the reason why I went with this one over the other one. So most of them are priced around the same amount. They're all pretty much around $1,100. So that really wasn't a factor into the equation here. What I did like about this roof rack over the other ones is it can be transferred from a 470 to a Lexus GX 460. So while I don't plan on going from the 470 to a 460, it is nice to, one, have the option to do so, and two, if I decide to sell it for whatever reason, I have more of a market to sell it to, not just the 470 owners, but also the 460 owners. Another thing that I liked about the Victory 4x4 roof rack is that you're still able to use the sunroof. So some of the roof racks, they go completely over the sunroof and you're not able to open it or use it any longer. This one has enough room where if you do open your sunroof, you don't have any issues with it touching the roof rack. So that was another key thing for me. And then finally, I just liked the aesthetic appeal of it. So probably the biggest competitor for the Victory 4x4 roof rack is the Prinsu roof rack. If you look on the forums, most people seem to be between the two of them. Personally, the reason why I liked this one over the Prinsu is it just looks a little bit more complete in the rear. If you look at the Prinsu roof rack, it pretty much just goes straight out at the rear. This one kind of curves down and follows the body lines of the roof. So I thought it looked more factory, a little more integrated. I just like the styling a little bit more. Now, probably the reason why people go with Prinsu over the Victory is that the Prinsu roof rack seems to have more options with being able to move the crossbars. From what I understand with the Prinsu, you can pretty much move them as far forward or backwards as you want. With this, you have a little bit less flexibility, but I figure with what I'm going to be using this for, which is pretty much putting, wood on top or any large items if we go away on vacation, I don't really have to worry about smaller items slipping through. It's mostly going to be big stuff, so I won't really have an issue with having to move the bars for things to fit. So with the roof rack installation, you're going to need some pretty basic tools. You're going to need a flathead screwdriver to pry off some of the factory bolt covers on your current roof rack. You're going to need a 12mm wrench. Then I believe they say you need a 5/16 and a 5/32 Allen key. All I just have are these Star T25, T30 screws. So this is my black hardware. I already put all the washers on them. This is pretty much going to do the entire length of the roof rack and connect it to the crossbars. So I already have everything laid out as it's going to look on the roof. And we're going to start with the front and then work our way back on each side. All right, guys, so what you're going to do is you're going to take a bolt. You're going to have your crossbar match up to the long slot. All we're doing is taking all these, we're sticking them through the slot into the end holes of each of these crossbars, and that's pretty much it. And then you're just going to loosely tighten them up. You want to leave some room, that way you can make adjustments when you get to the other side. Just make sure that you have the T-slot upwards, because this is how you're going to be able to get any additional products on top of your crossbar, like any jerry can holders, any boards, anything. These are your slots to get everything through there for any of your additional items you want to put on your roof rack. All right, guys, so you can see I got the crossbars and the two sides all the way in with the bolts a little bit loose. Now, they say to flip it over, that way you can install the front fairing a little bit easier. So I'm gonna install it with it not flipped over. I still think it's gonna be easy enough. All you're doing is you're taking the front fairing, you're placing it in between the two side pieces, and then you're taking those same bolts as before, one of these lock washer nuts, and you're just installing it on the inside. You're gonna leave a little bit of room, it says, as well, and you're gonna make sure the fairing is as upright as possible. All right, guys, so if you're wondering why I'm in different clothes, well, it's a week later. Life gets in the way sometimes, and that's why I didn't upload this week. So let's get back to where we left off. So what we're gonna have to do now is put on the brackets and attach them to the rack, which is gonna support and hold up the rack once we put it on top of the roof. So you're gonna get 6 brackets, 2 for each side. This is the front one. So you're gonna know which one is which, because if you're reading it this way, you'll see an F, and then for the middle one, you'll see an M, and for the rear one, you'll see an R. And what the directions say is they're also supposed to point to the front of the vehicle. I'm assuming this is pointing this way. So they say for the Lexuses, there are 2 holes here and 2 holes here, this one being the front one. They say don't use this one, use this one as the starting point for your front bracket. So that's what we're gonna do. So we're just gonna take the bracket, we are gonna point it towards the front of the vehicle. We're gonna place it inside of the actual roof rack, and then you're gonna take your same screw, push it through the hole, and they say to put it all the way up. That way you have as much clearance as possible. You're just gonna take your metal lock nut and screw them in like so. They say to leave them slightly loose, and you're gonna repeat the same process for the middle bracket and the rear bracket on each side, and then you're all set at that point. Another way you can tell what the correct way is with these brackets, because it is a little confusing, circles go down onto the body, ovals go against the roof rack to go up or down. All right, guys, after you're done attaching all the stands to the roof rack, the next thing you're gonna do is take your weather stripping and apply it to the front and the rear of the roof rack. This is to protect the paint of the vehicle. So you'll see that I already took the weather stripping and I started attaching it on this end. They say to go from point to point. So once you put the rest of this on here to the next point, you're gonna cut it off, and that's gonna be used for the weather stripping down there. So let me do that real quick. All right, guys, so like I said, you're gonna take the remainder of your weather stripping, and there's 2 points on the back of your roof rack. You're just gonna cut this in half, and the goal is to just cover both points. It doesn't have to be perfect, but you wanna make sure you cover both up. All right, so the next thing we had to do is remove the stock roof rails from the roof. And now my issue is I don't have another person here. So really I can't finish this tonight, so I'm not gonna do that right now. So I'll cut away, and we'll get back to it tomorrow. All right, good morning, guys. It's the final day of the installation. I just want to say it hasn't taken a lot of time for me to do this, probably about 1 or 2 hours complete from beginning to end to get this project together. Just haven't had a lot of time on my part to get it actually completed. I have a buddy coming over, he's gonna help me put the roof rack onto the roof, but what you have to do right now is get the old roof rails off of the roof rack. So I'll show you how to do that. So on the Lexus GX 470, they have these caps on the end of the roof rails. What you're gonna do is you're gonna take a screwdriver, you're just gonna push it underneath where the rubber meets the roof cap, and you're just gonna lift it up, lift it up, lift it up, and then it will eventually just pry off. And you're gonna do that for both the front and the back. So once you get the front and the rear off, you still have this little middle cover that you have to deal with right here. This is a little bit different because it doesn't pull up, it pulls out this way. Flathead screwdriver. I'm just gonna push it underneath between the rubber and the plastic cover. You're gonna hear a little bit of a pop. So once you do that, you're gonna expose another bolt. So you have 2 bolts in the front, 2 bolts in the rear, 1 bolt in the middle. They're all 12 millimeter. And then once you take all the bolts off all the way around, you can lift this whole piece up. So let's do that right now. All right, guys, so once you get the stock roof rails off of the car, you still have one more thing you have to do. You'll see in the middle, you have this little bar sticking up with two 10mm bolts, and then you can just lift this right up. Then after that, we're gonna clean out all this crud from all three sides, and I'll show you the next step once that's taken care of. So once you're done getting the roof rack off, you have the open holes. Now, what you gotta do is you have to seal them up so there's no water leakage. So you're gonna use some adhesive sealant from Permatex. It's a black silicone and it will match with your roof rack. And all you're gonna do is you're gonna fill the holes around the side up until about where the hole opens up. You're gonna do that all the way around, and then you're gonna place the roof rack on top of the sealant. Then once you have the roof rack on top of the sealant, you're gonna go back over it again, over the hole, and then you're gonna put your bolts through the hole and tighten it down. All right, guys, so we have the roof rack on the roof. We're not done with it yet, though. Let me go over some things that I've kind of run into as I put the roof rack on top of here. So like I said, before you put the roof rack on the roof, you want to first put some silicone around the bolt holes. Then, once you get the roof rack on the roof, you want to put more silicone around the holes of the roof rack and of the body, and then you want to put the bolts down into the bolt holes, so when you tighten them down, the silicone expands out, and that's your waterproofing method. So you can take a look right here. Now, it's not pretty, obviously, but there's full coverage around the washer and the bolt that we shouldn't have any water penetration. Now, some things that have happened along the process, which I thought is kind of weird. So one, you have some rubber weather stripping that comes from the factory, obviously, that goes within the channels. So this is what I'm talking about. You have the weather stripping from the channels, and the bolt and the brackets fit in between it. However, your middle weather stripping from the factory is too long, where it's gonna catch on either the front bracket or the middle bracket. When we first put the roof rack on top of the roof, it was not sitting flush, and that's because part of the leg was sitting on top of this. So you're gonna have to trim this down. So the second thing I'm running into is we put this all the way down. Now it's touching against the roof. So look, you can hear that metal noise. So the directions say once you have all the bolts slightly tightened down, not completely, you're then gonna work on the front wind diffuser. You can see right now the wind diffuser is not touching the paint of the roof. It's slightly above it, and that's because they tighten the directions to have your bolts all the way up top. We're gonna loosen these 3 bolts on this side and the other side, and we're gonna push this wind diffuser completely down against the paint. Because if you don't have it flush against the paint of the roof, you're gonna have that wind noise, and then that whole wind diffuser is not doing its job. So the next thing you're gonna do is you're gonna go back to the legs of the roof rack, and you're gonna put them in their final position. So these legs can either go up or down. I'm gonna keep it all the way up, which is how I currently have it, but I'm just gonna tighten them all the way. So the last step you have to do is adjust each one of these crossbars, and what I'm gonna do, simply enough, just for aesthetic purposes at the time, is put each crossbar into the middle position. You can see this one's to the right. So I'm gonna put everything in the middle position all the way across. All right, guys, so I'm back. I decided to reshoot the ending to give you guys a better look at the vehicle with the roof rack on. Also, I had some discoveries after I started driving it around. So here's the roof rack, a little bit of a better look from farther away. Yet again, I have the roof rack set all the way up as high as possible. And here it is from the back. Like I said, you have 3 cutouts if you want to do some auxiliary lights for the back of the vehicle. And as I mentioned, you have all the cutouts along the side on each side, so you can put some additional piece of equipment on there. It was really, really easy to install. I know I said it took a few days to get this done over like a 2-week period. That's more from my schedule being a little crazy with just things going on in life. It really probably takes 2 hours from start to finish to get it done. So really not a bad thing at all. The other thing is I definitely like how it looks. It really did come out great. A nice low profile look to it. Really, really sets the car off and makes it look a hell of a lot more rugged than before. I think it was made very, very nicely. Really, really sturdy. So I can't wait to put a bunch of stuff up there. You know, the directions were a little crazy, but hopefully with this video, you'll find it a lot more easy to do, and it'll take you a lot less time than it took me. All things considered, if you're gonna start putting stuff onto your roof, whether it's lumber, a cargo carrier, a tent, you know, this will definitely get the job done. It definitely has enough accessory points and attachment points to really do the job for you. So by all means, I think it's definitely a good option. That way you keep things out of the vehicle for more space down there, and you can put some stuff up top. Now I can confirm that the rubber weather stripping on the front, it is a good seal. While driving, I put my hand directly behind it. There's no wind coming through whatsoever. However, an issue is there is a lot of wind noise. And I think it's because it's not a full fairing. Like I said, this is a half fairing because I will be putting a LED light bar on. That will be the next video most likely. So you're getting the wind noise from the wind hitting each one of those cross members. I'm hoping once I put the light bar on there, some of that wind noise will be reduced. Now the other thing is, I mentioned the rear of the roof rack was touching in the middle of the roof. Now per the directions, you're supposed to put the weather stripping on both the left and the rear side. However, there's no need for that. If you look right here, there's no way that this corner is gonna touch that metal. Now I am set in the highest position, but there's no way that this, even at the lowest, is gonna touch that metal. However, the middle does touch. So all I did is I took both the left and the right pieces that I cut in half for the corners, and I just took them off, removed them, and put them in the middle section, and I have a really nice seal against the roof. There's no wind noise from there. And the directions should tell you to do it like that, but for whatever reason they don't. It might be because these directions are universal with the 4Runner, so I'm sure things are a little bit different. So hopefully this video is helpful to you guys, since there isn't a Lexus GX 470 direction. And as I mentioned in my last video, I was gonna get some additional black pieces to put with the car. So now the black wheels with the black roof rack, it all starts to look like it's coming together. It looks really, really good in my opinion. Now I will say, I do find it really funny, but also really cool, the comment section in regards to the wheels in the last video being changed from the gold to the black plastic dip. There's people that are really into the gold wheels and are telling me to go back, and there's people that really like how the black look. I'm right in the middle. I like both. I'm gonna keep switching back and forth. It's really easy to plastic dip these things, but for right now, with the effort I put into plastic dipping them, I'm gonna keep them how they are, at least for right now. But I do like how the black wheels match the black roof rack. Now guys, tell me in the comment section, should I get a ladder for the rear of the vehicle? I really don't know, and it's because they look cool in general, but I really like how the back of the GX 470 looks as is. So if I had a ladder, it would really cut this whole piece off. And if you ever read the forums about people adding ladders to the back of their vehicle, a lot of people don't really get why people do it, besides maybe the aesthetic look. And I kind of agree from the sense that I can reach every single thing on this vehicle by just standing on the tires or the rear bumper or the side steps. So I really don't see the point of it too much. However, the thing that I keep thinking about is it would be really nice to just sit on the roof. That's really it, you know, have the ladder, climb up, put my butt on one of the cross members, my feet on the ladder. I think that would be kind of cool, kind of be fun, but that's really one of the only things I can imagine the ladder being kind of useful for. And they're not cheap. They're like, I think the Gobi ladder's around 300. There's another one that I like a little bit more. I'm forgetting the name right now, but I think that's around like 350, probably 400 after shipping. So they're not exactly cheap, and for them to not be used except for an aesthetic appearance, which I'm really not sure I'm completely fond of, it kind of might be a waste. So let me know in the comment section, do you want me to put a ladder on? If so, let me know why. If not, let me know why. But it's definitely something I'm kind of grappling with right now. But like I said, the next video is definitely gonna be putting that 40-inch LED bar and the switch in. That's something we definitely need to finish off that roof rack. And I think once we're done with the light bar, we really need to go off-roading. That's something we definitely need to get done. The weather is really, really nice right now. There's no excuses. So that's gonna be something in the near future, so please stick around. So if you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button. That way you don't miss any other videos. And if you haven't already, don't smash, but gently hit that like button. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.